Welcome to Nintendo Switch 5 years later. Thank you all for being here. I assume either you're hardcore Nintendo Switch fans, are drunk from Flaming Hot Mountain Dew and just stumbled in here, or you're avid Vita fans and you came here to boo the whole panel. That's what I would have done personally.
What the heck is a Vita?
Oh no! Oh, okay. We can't get into that with this. So,
they're Atari Lynx fans.
Oh yeah, anyone in here who would get that besides you or me, I'd be very impressed by. So, I'm your first host, Spencer Presley, and joining me is a person who's always great at reading my text messages.
Yarly.
There you go. But we're not here to talk about us. Real quick, did anyone bring their Switch to the convention this year? What is that, the OLED or just a really fancy cover you got?
It's fancy, not OLED.
What are you playing on it?
Fine.
It's just a normal Switch and it has stuff
This
on
is
it.
my OLED. It's not
I'm playing Animal Crossing.
I hope it's all right.
I got two Switches.
You brought both?
No, I just brought my.
Oh, okay.
I brought my
And then
modded one.
what are you playing on yours back there?
I'm playing Earthquake, which is Braided.
Nice. Okay. All right. I'll probably have it. Wait, what's on your Switch?
I have
Right now, what were you last playing?
Smash Ultimate.
Oh man,
and
lame-o answer.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
I'll let you answer. Pronounce the game I'm currently playing.
Token Ranbu Warriors.
I'm playing Token Ranbu Warriors, which is think like those Dynasty Warrior clones, but you poke the boys and rub them in between missions. So let me tell you, going into GameStop and saying, "Sir, do you have the game where none of the words besides warrior are in English?" And that was a great time asking him for that stuff. So unfortunately, we're not going to probably talk about poking boy simulators, although who knows? The Switch is a very eclectic library. So it's been over 5 years, and as I was making this pretty brief timeline of everything, I thought it was really funny to kind of go over everything. I'd forgotten the NX was its code name. The Switch had such a long history. You know what I should do? Not as another question, but as a fun way to tease all of us for making bad financial decisions. By show of woos, who here owned a Wii U in 2016? Woo! Okay, there's way more people than I thought who would own a Wii U.
All right. Still owns a Wii U.
Well, it's not like it was the DS to the 3DS. Why would you get rid of your Wii U? Because even though a lot of the games got ported, it's at the end of the day, it'll still be one of the worst ways to play so many games. And why would you want to change that? It's hey man, what if I want a really bad way to play my virtual console games? Or what if I want let's say, I'm sure there's some Wii U port that's better. If that, some people will be nah, dude.
Well,
they're some of the virtual stuff I give, a Wonderful One. There are some games. Oh, perfect. Mario Maker 1. I would play Mario Maker 1 on the Wii U original over 2 any day because that game was made for the stylus and gamepad. Star Fox Zero fans, all three of us, we got to play that game somewhere.
Xenoblade X.
Oh yeah, Xenoblade X. Well, that's coming any day now, but Xenoblade X...
Yeah, you say that. That's what people have been saying for the past 5 years.
Any day now. We got to get Xenoblade 3. We'll get to that. We'll get to Xenoblade later. So, it was codenamed NX, and what's funny is we'd known about it for years and years and years. I remember, too, because it was one of those things, you really got to remember, Nintendo was just in such a bad situation back in 2016, because it wasn't oh, the Wii U, haha, that's why it's bad. The 3DS was really low. Outside of Pokemon and your random Mario Kart, the 3DS was just kind of that, machine. You weren't, hearing people talk about it on any level compared to, the Wii and the DS was, back then.
The 3DS, the 3DS sold pretty well, but the sales were horrible compared to the original DS.
Plus, as any, I'm assuming either Nintendo fan or watcher of Scott the Woz will tell you, 2016 was a terrible year for Nintendo games, too. Where's no Mario Tennis Defenders.
Sun and Moon.
Well, no, that would have been Sun and Moon. Was that 2016? I thought it was 20. Well, either way, Sun and Moon I like. Oh, see, the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon haters, then you can make a stand for it. But yeah, there was just not a lot of great stuff coming out. I think that was also Color Splash, Paper Mario Color Splash as well. There was just a lot of uneven release stuff. Not a lot of hype. There wasn't if you weren't picking up every Wii U game. No, Year of Luigi was 2014 to 15 because it was over a year long, as is tradition.
We got. Was that the one we got in New Super Luigi Brothers?
I think that would have been the start of it, but yeah, there were multiple titles. But we can't get into Wii U stuff. That's its own panel, I'm sure, in some cursed DashCon sequel. But we're talking about the Switch. So Wii U and 3DS, real low point for their history and everything for it. And there was a commercial 5 months, which seems crazy now. Like, we didn't know what the system looked like. There were leaks and stuff, but 5 months before the Switch came out, there was a trailer that showed every situation none of us in this room will probably play their Switch in. Oh, I'm going to play Mario Kart on the roof, on the back of my friend's car. We're going to go through the Taco Bell drive-thru playing Smash Brothers. Splatoon 2 is going to be in an esports arena as we're all not getting booed at. Like, all these things that'll never happen, but was a cool thing for the system, showing off all these games we didn't know about, Breath of the Wild. It was a weird one of like, it's a trailer for like what it's like to own the system. It wasn't like showing you the games. It didn't really say a lot of dates. It was just kind of like, hey, we know you got it pretty bad right now, but in 5 months you're going to be docking and undocking. And outside of people who liked a lot of male-on-male porn, didn't know what docking meant. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Before the Switch came out, how many heterosexual men knew what docking was? They're like, hey, come on. That's some low numbers, man. That's one hand out of a couple. So Nintendo's very progressive in terms of making us learn more about docking and undocking. So I appreciate them for that.
One of the games I showed was Skyrim, and I don't think it was actually confirmed for the Switch at the time.
It was one of those weird ones of Nintendo actually didn't confirm a lot of the games because they also revealed Odyssey, but they technically never revealed Odyssey until like E3. They were like, we'll show you a new Mario, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, at least it was real, unlike some of the game they showed for the Wii U.
Well, see, I thought you would have gone to something like Mario 128 or whatever, like those weird concept art, Mario 1. So, 2016, a fun time to want the Switch, but not really for much else if you're a big Nintendo fan. Now, 2017 was the crazy thing for it, because 2017, I think, rivaled with everyone's personal opinions a little bit different, but was probably the best way you could have launched this system. You had that January presentation where they live streamed it from Japan and they had a whole bunch of press junkets ready. If you've never watched it and you're moderately aware, if that picture of a man shaking a Joy-Con that's supposed to replicate a bottle of an empty glass of ice, I highly recommend it. So many weird Nintendo moments. But it was so good because it was like the breakdown of here's how much it's going to cost. Here's what it looks like. Here's what HD Rumble is. It was like all these weird things that we take for granted now, but they summed it up. And even though there wasn't like a lot of bad news, I'd say like the only bad news with it was when it ended and they were like, how many games will be in this thing? What's your question, man?
I think it was in October when they had done the release date announcement.
Yeah, that's when we knew it was going to be March.
Reaction to like March, so I was like half a year away. I was floored.
Oh yeah, because it was that thing of we'd known about it for so many years before, but it was just kind of like ethereal.
We didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was like back when people were like, what's Project Cafe? Like, what are all these like weird like code names? Because it's like it could be anything. So the cool thing about this one though was they showed off a ton of games, but at the end of it, every region outside of like Japan found out they only had 5 physical games. And I gotta be honest with you, I feel like most people don't remember that. 5 games launched. If you wanted a cart copy with this system, like how many systems like come out that are like you get 5?
Sega Saturn, Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's like N64 is another one. N64 launched with 2 games, but I mean for a game system coming out in 2017, 5 is a heck of a choice. Does anyone here want to remember them? I'll get the obvious one out of the way. Breath of the Wild. That's like the obvious big one. Who remembers the other 4 physical Switch games? No. These were launched on the release day. So March 2017, there were 4 games. Yeah. That's digital, but Snipper Clips is a great one. That's a goatee pick. Yes. 1-2 Switch. Highly overpriced, but underrated. Anyone else want to guess? We have 3 others left. Yep. Which one? Cars? Oh, ARMS. No, that was May. I know, 2017 is like a blur. Just Dance 2017. I'll say this. Joy-Con's not a terrible way to play Just Dance. I picked it up because I thought at the time.
Just Dance 2017 was also on the Wii.
It was on everything. The Wii U. It was on just about every other thing. So we got 2 other games.
Weird thing in itself, if you look up the history why it's on the Wii, there's things going on there.
It's true. I'll give the other one away because I don't think most people would probably remember it, and it's actually really expensive now. Skylanders Imaginators. And the cool thing about that one, actually, it's horrifyingly expensive now. So if you have it like me and you're dying for $300, it's a great way. It's the only version of Skylanders that ever came out, and you don't need the portal. They actually made the Joy-Cons work with the Skylanders. So they work like Amiibo, and no other version actually did that. Anyone else want to take a guess what the last game was? I'll give you a hint. It was a Konami game.
I know what it is.
Bomberman.
Yes.
Super Bomberman R, otherwise known as, oh my god, Konami didn't give up on games. It's post-Metal Gear Solid 5 time. So it was a really weird launch, a lot more focus on like digital stuff, like snipper clips, as was mentioned. Spectre Knight for Shovel Knight came out at the time. Fast RMX Racing. There was a ton of stuff. Like, I forgot, did you end up picking it up on launch day for the Switch, or did you wait for a little bit?
You mean the system?
Yeah, system. Like,
No,
did you pick it up in March?
I didn't get it the Switch until like right before Smash Ultimate came out, and
Okay,
I got off of Craigslist for $170.
You gotta like put the UV light on it, be like, what's happened to this Switch before he sold this to me? Who here actually picked it up in March of 2017? Just curious, I assume we all bought Breath of the Wild with it. So the funny thing with it, and I should have put this as like some fun trivia for sales, Breath of the Wild, because it was also on Wii U, more copies of Breath of the Wild on Switch were sold than systems. And I remember because I was at that midnight launch, people were coming in to just buy games. They couldn't play it, but they were like, whatever. I know I'm going to want to play Breath of the Wild, so I'll pick it up.
Was it like a thing where the games were on sale before the system came out?
Nope. It was just people knew, because like, it's especially weird now because of like how much quarantine's kind of messed with like system scarcity. All the PS5 people looking out there, I'm sure, can relate to it, but it's that thing of just like people were like, I know I want to play this. Nintendo games almost never go on sale, so why not just pick it up when you can? Also, they were doing other stuff, like there was the collector's editions if you wanted it, or the Amiibo and stuff like that. So it was one of those really special, interesting launches of like, especially because there were so few games and stuff out there, it was kind of a weird bonding moment. Like, there wasn't a sports game, there was some family-friendly stuff, but a lot of it was like, hey, if you're a Nintendo fan and someone was in line for a Nintendo Switch, you're probably going to have something to, like, relate over, which has always been sort of nice. Because even though you might not like Animal Crossing and Yoshi as much as the next person, you can all agree Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a certified GOAT. Like, it's a certified fact if you haven't played it. So Other things we learned about, Joy-Cons, like I mentioned, HD Rumble. This is a weird one for me because, like I said, I've had the Switch since launch. What's your thoughts and history on the Pro Controller?
The Pro Controller for the Switch?
Yeah, because that also launched with the system.
I think it's a lot better than the Wii U Pro Controller.
Oh, the Wii U one was I'm also comparing it to like do you remember the Wii Pro Controller?
Yes.
The Wii Pro Controller, shout to that, was literally just the Wii Classic Controller with handles. They're like, we've made it comfortable now. It was like, they've just been slowly making it better. But yeah, so like, I just got my first Pro Controller 2 months ago, and ironically, it's the Xenoblade one, because I've been so fanboyishly hyped for 3. I was like, I should get this. And everyone's always like, the Pro Controller is very good. I guess we'll make a one versus the other. So, woo if you like the Pro Controller more than the Joy-Con. Does anyone here like the Joy-Cons more than the Pro Controller? So, like, for a long time, I've always been the thing of, like, even though, like, people always say they're smaller and uncomfortable, I've liked just using the Joy-Cons. They're really flexible, you use them on the grip and stuff like that. Yeah, you can just play a game as unorthodoxly weird-looking as possible. Exactly. Yeah.
The Joy-Cons come with drift.
So yeah, I mean, like we'd mentioned it a little bit before here with it. We might as well do this. Has anyone here never had Joy-Con drift? It is one of those weird things of like, it's a thing that's certifiably real, but it is weird that there are still people that are like, they've never had it. Like, it's not a use case. It's not like you use them enough and then they start to break, because they're just sometimes like, I remember when I got my launch Switch, because the left ones are usually more prone than the rights. It would be like if I played with the controller behind my hand, the right one would work, and the left one would desync like all the time. And then people cracked them open and opened it up. And it's a thing that's just wrong with how the first initial ones are made, and they're still kind of there. But yeah, Joy-Con drift is like that weird thing of like, it sucks. It's clearly never just going to be fixed until there's like a Switch 2. But at least Nintendo has either been threatened for litigation long enough that people are now like, just call them, get them switched out. It sucks how much it's ever happened. If you've never had it happen, enter the lottery. You're a very lucky person or whatever. I've been like too lazy to ever ship mine in. I think what it ended up doing was I have like a pair that still have drift. That's someone's coming over and I don't want them to use my Joy-Cons. Because it's like, who's going to be like, yo, dude, you give me the one with drift? And be like, hey, those are $80 a pop. It doesn't matter. You're getting the freebie ones. Yeah.
I've started like replacing that stick. Like I order new ones online and just open up the Joy-Con and replace them myself. But it's kind of a mixed bag because sometimes they're crappy replacements and sometimes they're okay.
Yeah, well, at least like if you're doing them yourself, it's a little bit easier in terms of like having that middleman. Just curious, does anyone here either have like a special Joy-Con color, special system, anything like that? Yeah.
No, I was just saying that I got special Joy-Cons. I got the Master Sword Shield Edition.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. They took that many years to finally make a Zelda braided Joy-Con. It was so weird. You.
Oh, I would say I have a Pro controller, but I have like that Tommy purple, like clear center and stuff.
Oh yeah, man. I don't like. I grew up in the 90s. I don't have that like, because yours kind of have that like see-through plastic thing with it. Like
well,
that's such a thing of like people are so nostalgic for that like see-through like.
Yeah, they look cool, but pretty sure these are third-party Joy-Cons.
Yeah, that's true. You.
One thing about the drift, if you use your Joy-Con in Nintendo, sometimes they do not send back the same color. So
Yes.
if you have a special switch, like an Animal Crossing one, maybe be
Yeah, that's also the weird one, especially because now there are so many different versions of the Switch. Like when I was like looking up some more stuff for it, does anyone here remember Nintendo Labo? There's like I don't remember how many they made for it, but it was only given away for a giveaway. There's a brown special edition Labo Switch that looks like cardboard. It's the only brown Joy-Cons they've ever made in their life, and it's one of those things of like, I wonder, like, what would you do if, like, you're one of, like, the 3 people in the world with that Switch and it got drift? Like, what do you do? Like, oh, man, my cardboard brown Joy-Cons are broken. What am I going to do with my life?
I remember when they announced Switch Lite, people were getting worried. It's like, what's going to happen if it has drift? And I can't remember if they said anything or not, but I just remember when it was announced, I was hearing complaints about drift like 2 weeks after.
The Switch Lite, I think, is a lot less so. It's like one of those things of like, honestly, any controller always has the chance of like having drift and stuff for it. I would be actually curious, who here has a Lite as opposed to a regular Switch? Who here wants to flex their OLED? Who's got an OLED in here? No OLED? Well, okay, 2. I was going to say, I couldn't believe no one has an OLED. It was a weird one of like, I got the like Red Mario one like the year the OLED came out, and I've had no FOMO with it. Like I like how the OLED looks; it's really great. Like if you all haven't seen it,
wait, the Mario one is an OLED?
No. The Mario one came out the year the OLED came out, and like normally I'd have FOMO. Like I did the same thing with the new 3DS, but the OLED one's really funny. Of like it's great, but I don't play my Switch handheld enough that I would like need to replace it, and I'm such a sucker for my color of red that I was kind of like, I'll wait. I don't know when the next Switch will come, but like something like just told me like I didn't need to have immediate FOMO. But it is one of those senses of for the 2 people in here who do have the OLED, it's a really nice system. The dock is a lot nicer, the screen's a lot nicer. But yeah, other stuff with it and remember, this is just not talking about the games. That's going to be its own thing. History from 2017. It had a lot of support, but not like traditional support. We weren't getting Call of Duty. We weren't getting like the big AAA games. It was a lot of here's some ports, a lot of indie games. Shout out to people who remember Nindies. They don't use Nindies anymore. But the first year had a lot of like digital support. Physical was a little iffy just because it was a cartridge-based system. Is anyone in here a digital only person? Like who do you guys mostly play digital or physical for your Switch games? I was going to say, I feel so old with all the digital answers. Yeah.
Here's what irritates me about digital versus physical that I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. Digital games are
because when you buy a digital game, you get 300 Nintendo Gold points for a full price game, which is pretty awesome. If you buy the physical game, you get 60 gold points, which is only 60 cents. Plus, digital games don't have tax.
Did you guys know that? Well, most people actually don't know about the redeeming physical. You get the 60 coin thing. Did you know that expires?
Yeah, it's like a year.
That's the weirdest thing of like, hey, buddy, you can't cash in that 60-cent coupon. You bought this game 2 years too late. I'm like, really?
No. It's a year after you initially boot it up.
It's well, actually, it doesn't matter the boot update. It just there's an internal thing for it because I found a stupidly cheap copy of Pokken on that, and that was a launch year game. I was like, this has been expired, and I'm like, I couldn't even, because they must know you're not going to care. It's 60 cents. It's not worth getting like worked up. But I will say, any other system, I would warrant an argument that physical gets discounted cheaper than digital. But yeah, Switch is a weird one. Of most people, if you're buying physical, are going to pick it up day one because you're not like, oh man, I can't believe, like, no one's going to wait on Switch Sports thinking it's going to be $20 this summer. We all know it's going to be 40, 50, and they're going to do that kind of thing with
Wii
it.
Sports is still like 50.
Oh, Wii Sports jumped up in price, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nintendo stuff just holds value a lot more differently. So yeah, with Nintendo, I get the digital thing with it, but I think especially because I'm a physical collector, I like the cards, and it's just a weirder thing with it. And there's like also like just fun stuff with them of like the releases. Like when there's weird releases on the Switch, I like to have those as a cart more. Like one I'm really bummed we didn't get was Famicom Detective Club 1 and 2. That was only in Japan. It's these really old, is a remake of a bunch of old NES visual novels. And they're awesome, and they got like this big collector's box in Japan. But of course, like what big box store is going to like stock that? But like other weird ones of like Bayonetta 1 had a physical release, but that was only in Japan. And thankfully with it all being region free, it's a super import friendly system. Besides game support, though, the fact that it sold 14 million in its first year, beating the Wii U, I don't think anyone was that surprised that it beat the Wii U, to be fair. But 14 million in its first year of a really busy year for Xbox and PlayStation and PC games was a big deal for it. Like, it was just, I think of like, if you wanted a Switch, it was like looking for a PS5 or an Xbox now. You had to hound for it. They were selling out immediately. Like for you, were you waiting because you kind of wanted a deal? Or like, I'm sure, because I know you're in the same spot right now at the PS5. If you found a Switch earlier, do you think you would have picked it up?
Probably not.
Was it like a price thing? Because yeah, it launched at $299. I thought for what you got, $299 seemed fair.
Mean, a little bit, but at the same, I guess it wasn't so much the price. It was more just I didn't really think it had enough exclusive games for me to warrant for me to warrant a $300 purchase.
Did you play Breath of the Wild on the Wii U?
Yes.
That's why. See, it was the stragglers for that. Because to be fair, for a while, it really was just a Breath of the Wild machine. Like, if you played it at launch, it was like, hey, I mean...
I think the second game I got was Splatoon 2, and that was like a June.
Wow, that was a July game. If you held out for Splatoon, that'd be a crazy one. But yeah, so, crazy amount of things for it, but this is the fun part, honestly, outside of the facts for it, is talking about all the different games it got. This is not even everything. This is just bigger-ish exclusives. I want to kind of open the floor. If you have one that's not up here, or a game from 2017 you are super passionate about, or feel a lot about out here, feel free to raise your hand and vent about it. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, we'll have each one for all the different years and stuff for it. But I want to give a shout out to a couple ones that I feel people don't talk about a lot. Mario Rabbids, still one of the weirdest games on the Switch. If you haven't played it, have you played it?
No.
Do you know like how it plays? Right?
Yeah.
It's just XCOM. It's Mario with a gun with XCOM bunnies, and it's really, really good.
I also remember in the late advertising, they said the badass princess.
How that game in the bottom left corner was not anything but terrible is a miracle. And I could not be more excited for the sequel this year, praying to Lord it comes out. Yeah, well, yeah, it's supposed to be this year.
It's supposed to be.
I mean, to be fair, if you're Ubisoft, like that team, like it's nice that they're not rushing it out. It's not like a Skull and Bones thing with it, but yeah, if you like RPGs, even if you hate the Rayman Rabbids, it's one of the weirdest games. It's one of the craziest soundtracks. It's by Grant Kirkhope, who's done a bunch of stuff. Donkey Kong DLC for it. It's absolutely stupid. But yeah, the other stuff with it, like someone mentioned ARMS earlier, for all 5 of us ARM fans who remember it, really solid fighting game. Like, it wasn't going to become the next Smash Brothers, but it was fun. Like, you could play with the motion controllers. It was competitively fun, but still pick up and play fun. Just some dummy thick boys and girls in that game. Like, man, they really cranked it up. Oh, here's another good trivia one. Who knows who developed ARMS? Besides just saying Nintendo. Believe it or not, do you know the answer?
No.
The Mario Kart 8 team. Whoa. Yeah. So, which was extra funny because the month before they had just released Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and they just clearly had a whole bunch of energy burst up in them. Also, weird ARMS history I always think about and then get sad. They were going to do a ARMS graphic novel. Announced it got delayed because ARMS doesn't really have a story mode, but they had like Overwatch lore they were ready to tell us because fans apparently really needed to know what Twin Tails' birth hit story was about, and then it just got canned at the last second because Nintendo was like, this is ARMS, why are we putting this much money into ARMS? So shout out to the like untold story of it, but one that probably a lot more people have opinions on than ARMS and Mario Rabbids. How many people here played Splatoon 2? Splatoon 2, if we're all being honest, have you played it?
No.
Splatoon 2 is just Splatoon 1 on the Switch. But it's so good. And the single player is good, the music is it's like hey, we wanted to bring this game like it could have simply just been a Wii U port to Switch. But they added the new single player. The single player is fantastic. The co-op was great. Again, the music, you can't mention Splatoon without the music stuff for it. Like, it was just so much fun bringing it on there, and it's still like one of the most actively played like Switch games online. Yeah.
Comparing Splatoon 2 single player to Splatoon 1 single player, Splatoon 1 wins.
Really?
Because the DJ Octavio fight was just so much more insane and amazing, and then the Splatoon 2 one was just boring.
Where do you level the two with the Octo expansion? They wanted to apologize and make you pay for the apology.
Yeah.
I need to still play it. I'll play the Octo expansion before 3 comes out, but I'm...
Expansion is what gives Splatoon the darkest lore of any Nintendo.
Oh, man. Yeah, going back to lore, anyone out there, do yourself a favor. Look up Splatoon lore. It is wild. It's weird. It's Nintendo game have a lot of like dumb, weird like lore and stuff for it, but Splatoon specifically, I'm really ready for 3 because Splatoon 3, I'm ready for them to just go full Mad Max by the end of it.
I think that's what some of us thought it was when they showed that trailer.
Yeah,
the first few seconds.
It's tough, but like so many great indie games. I put on their snipper clips and Golf Story. Does anyone like have any like indie games from like 2017 they may or may not remember? Like I know Binding of Isaac was a big one that year for it. I'm 90% sure I think Stardew Valley came out. It was either really close or 2018, but like the Switch, I don't use it a lot for like indie game stuff for it, but it is one of those things where it's like, if you're an indie game and you can run on the Switch, most people probably want you to be there. There's not a lot of games people will be like, that doesn't work that well on there.
When did Terraria come to the Switch?
Terraria was probably launch year, but that's one of those ones where like, I throw that with like a Minecraft of like, yeah, it's going to be on there just because it's like, yeah, it can run and do all that stuff for it. But other weird ones, there were a lot of Wii U like port requests, but not the ones people really wanted. Mario Kart was nice. I don't know how many people were asking for Pokken. It was cool. Obviously, Pokemon fans got cucked really bad that year because who here remembers the rumored Pokemon Stars? So Sun and Moon. Clearly, the next game must be Stars. No, it was Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And instead, the only thing you got was a Wii U port of a fun fighting game, but not what most people were probably looking for. But other ones that were big, Fire Emblem Warriors, weirdly for me, was actually my first Fire Emblem experience, which is probably sacrilege if you actually like Fire Emblem.
You didn't say it was Smash.
I don't really count that. I know some people do. They're like, hey, how'd you find out about Joker?
Fun
Smash
fact. Melee came out before Roy's game did, so you could say Roy is from Smash.
Yeah, but it's just one of those weird ones of happenstance.
What about the National Zelda? The Terraria.
Oh, the Breath of the Wild one, you mean?
Yeah, the first National Zelda for Switch.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I don't have it on there just because I have it as the background and I didn't want to have like doubly on there. And again, kind of like I said a little bit before you'd come in, the Switch for a while was just a Breath of the Wild machine. It was like they should not they should have bundled it. It was just a thing you bought, like you was because I was selling Switches at the time at my job. You didn't even ask people. You're like, you want a Switch? Let me go grab Breath of the Wild for you. They're like, hold on the phone there. I don't want the best game that this system has. I gotta wait for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Shout out, though, to Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a really good instant of, even if you don't like games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, was a great example of the Switch effect, which was basically, hey, are you a niche game? If you're on the Switch, you're probably going to sell 1 million if we even half remotely advertise you. Because that was the best-selling Xenoblade game that had ever sold, mostly because it was in the launch year of the Switch.
I mean, would you consider Xenoblade niche? Because I mean,
Yeah.
we like.
It was back then.
Back then, you got to think all it had was a game we literally had to beg to come on the Wii, a very poorly sold Wii U game, and a 3DS port.
We had to beg for it in North America. Europe got it earlier.
True, but it was just one of those like.
But then we got Shulk and Smash.
Even when he joined Smash for Wii U, that didn't feel like a culmination. Whereas like Maya and like Pyra and Mithra coming to Smash, that's because of how big Xenoblade 2 is. It wasn't like it's big because it's in Smash now. It was more of people came a lot more familiar with it through.
Not because Xenoblade was big, but because Sakurai liked other big things.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was like there are lots of things that are in Smash, even as like in the roster. Like the IP of Duck Hunt Dog has not been more relevant. Like I know you're probably a more accurate one. There's a reason there's no Kid Icarus 3 right now. No Kid Icarus Uprising 2. It's like as much as people out there love like Pit and Palutena and all of them, being in Smash doesn't necessarily mean you're like a million seller.
But what about Earthbound? I mean, like when we got Ness in the original Smash, like nobody really knew who he was, but then people started looking it up, and then you saw Earthbound appear on top.
Earthbound and Mother is another one of those. Their popularity is definitely helped because of Smash. But
Like,
if it was big, it would have had Mother 3 by now.
Would you say Earthbound or Mother is niche?
Yeah, 100%. Nintendo even calls it niche still. Yeah, 100%. It's a thing of like you can be niche and still have millions of sales. Like we're talking like this is a company who if Pokemon doesn't sell 20 million in a year, they're like, what went wrong? Whereas like now, Xenoblade 2, oh my god, it sold 1 million. Like that's a huge deal. Like they're aware of the spectrum for everything. So like that's why I've at least always appreciated Nintendo, their attempt at like they respect a game when it sells good for the series, not just by numbers. Yeah.
Just to the point of Earthbound and Mother being niche, I'd say it's niche because games that inspire sold more than.
Oh yeah.
Plus, it has no future.
Well, I mean, but like everyone knows, like everyone knows about it. One of the reasons is because of games like Undertale. But I'm sure if Nintendo put sold the Earthbound collection like physically on a cartridge, I'm sure it would sell millions.
And also, it's another one to remember that while it is a Nintendo property, like they're not just going to make Mother 4 without that creative team. Like they're not just going to pump it out. Another good one is like. And we'll get to it in like 2021. Metroid is niche. Everyone knows Samus. Everyone knows like stuff like that. But Metroid is a series that took up until Metroid Dread to sell 3 million copies. So like it's one of those things where like there's a lot of different like aspects for it. But yeah, so let's move on a little bit here for 2018. The side smash. This is a weird one of where 2017 we had every month was a big Switch exclusive. Nintendo immediately had to stop the brakes because no one expected the Switch to do as well as it did, and they were not ready. So they were still having to make games on the Wii U. They were still making games on the 3DS because they were like, hey, we're not going to abandon these systems, which was nice to people who wanted to play on the 3DS and didn't have a Switch. But how many times back then did we see people with games saying, like, where's the Switch version? I don't want to play Luigi's Mansion 1 on the 3DS Miyamoto. I want to play it on the Switch. Like all these weird little like instances coming up with everything.
Persona 5 on Switch.
I mean, not even getting into like third-party stuff for it, but like there were titles like people were being like Kirby's Epic Yarn is now on 3DS. Why is that not on Switch? Like all these things, like we're gonna port all the Mario and Luigi games. not to switch. And so it led to a lot of people kind of being split in terms of development and where people were playing and stuff like that. So the releases definitely took a big hit in terms of what was going on. Like I mentioned earlier, Nintendo Labo was a thing. Show of hands, who actually bought Nintendo Labo?
That piano was stupidly fun.
Fun fact, Nintendo Labo sold terribly. Not that surprising. Everything Nintendo Labo is very discounted except the VR. The VR headset is like an almost $150 thing if you can find it new. I don't know why you'd want a forced cardboard VR thing, but it is cool to try. But
Probably just make one yourself.
yeah, but like papercraft is one thing. Getting cardboard sturdy enough to hold your Switch without your hands, I wouldn't trust it.
Is it real cardboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, also, if you've ever seen the bottom right, that contraption for Project Giant Robot with all the strings is like almost 2.5, 3 hour project. It's like an insane thing. And I mean, the stuff with Labo was fun. Like, Labo was a really fun idea. I don't think Nintendo, I think during quarantine, that would have been a great one to like ship out some cardboard. People are all at home. Whereas like selling this in like 2018, it just really came and went. Not a lot of people really remember it. I hope it gets rare one day and people like grow up and like, man, I miss my Labo. But I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, we're not going to have Rock Band nostalgia for the piano. Nintendo Switch, as I mentioned, paid online happened. We had online play. You can feel about paying for online however you can. NES games were added. It was the ones you expected, not all of them all at once, and even as this weekend has shown by them adding Pinball, they're adding very middling titles at a very slow pace. Cloud saves, except for some games, RIP, Splatoon, and Pokemon. Smartphone app, which no one uses, and exclusive offers used to be a joke, but they actually do some pretty good offers now. Who here actually pays for Nintendo Switch Online? It's like way more than I thought. I actually don't. I still haven't done it yet. The closest I ever got was Tetris 99, because that's an amazing game. It's insultingly cheap, but that even goes to show how little I would play online when I'd say, no, I'm good. The only one that's changed it is then Smash Brothers didn't do it, but Mario Kart 8 DLC got me to think about it, but no one's been playing it because there's a bajillion titles out right now. So it's funny I say like 2018 was like a slower year. This looks like a lot of games, but like 2018, when you kind of lift up the Wii U curtain, wasn't like a crazy year. But does anyone here have any games in 2018 like they either like super remember, are super passionate about? Obviously, the big one was Smash Brothers Ultimate, but that came out at the way tail end in December of 2018. And oh, what? Yeah, Torn is a crazy one shout out to, that's a crazy one that I still can't believe got a physical release. It was a standalone expansion to Xenoblade 2. It was a prequel. If you are not aware of it, it's really good, amazing soundtrack. If you like Xenoblade, a lot of people haven't necessarily played Torna. But, 2018, fun year, but, the standouts besides Smash and Torna are really weird. Not everyone loved Mario Party. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't like personal beef with Super Mario Party, but it just made me sad because they go back to the way Mario Party used to be before the cars, but it's still not that good as Mario Party.
It was
Because
really
Hudson Soft didn't make it.
well, and it was really bare bones. Remember how long it took for them to finally add online?
What, 4 years?
They never added DLC for it. It just goes to another Mario Party. That's just all the old Mario Party have. I just had beef. It is so good.
Yeah, but Super Mario Party is a weird one. It sold millions, but I feel like everyone I ever talked to about it is mad at it. They're they hate bought it. No, definitely. Yeah.
Best redeeming quality is that you can play as Bowser without having to do that weird Bowser.
True. No one's sitting there being like, man, I miss Mario Party 10. I want the Bowser car, please. I will say, though, I know they're not probably that nostalgically remembered. I was and I still probably would consider myself a lapsed Pokemon fan. I had a soft spot for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. just the fact that we were remaking a Game Boy game. I know it was super dumbed down, taking a lot of features.
Game that we already had a remake of with Fire Red and Leaf Green.
But what was nice was
it have most of the content from Fire Red and Leaf Green.
I gave it a pass because it was different. Like, if I wanted to play it, I could have just played it. I liked that they added the fact that you didn't battle random enemies. It was mostly just catching them. I thought 2-player was a really interesting addition. I wish they would bring back, but obviously it makes sense why they didn't. Like, Let's Go for me until Legends came out was like the one I'd recommend to people just because, and we'll get to Sword and Shield later. I felt like every Pokemon game you kind of had to have a big asterisk next to it of like, oh, do you like Diamond and Pearl? You might like the remake. I don't know. Look at it first. So yeah, like it's one where like if you don't like Let's Go, I get it. The Pokemon Go mechanics are really like hit or miss for some people, and I'm sure have aged like room temperature Mountain Dew flaming hot over here. But still some good shout outs and also some good let's make fun of games like Super Mario Party. Everyone can keep making fun of Kirby Star Allies, the most forgettable Kirby game of all time probably, or at least one of the most. Yeah,
Star Allies, no, it was boring, sure, but also I've tried to beat the game 3 times, and every time I go, I lost the game practice.
Oh, even better. Yeah, I thought you were going to mention the fact that it was one of those games where it had a really small roster of playable characters because it was one of those 4-player Kirby games, but you had to wait for them to all get added in through like updates and stuff with it. So yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. I know it's a Kirby, but still, it's too easy. The gameplay itself.
There's levels to Kirby. Like Kirby can be like, as we'll get to in 2022, Kirby when he's good can fire on all cylinders, but like a bad Kirby game is about as fun as going into a self-induced coma. It's like, boy, I did this to myself and I don't even know why. But yeah, the ports were fun. Shout out to Starlink. I think maybe 10 people played that game, but that's the last Star Fox game that ever came out.
I remember Starlink because at the time I worked at Best Buy and I had to get one. I had to retrieve one from the store floor and I just couldn't find it.
That's the only reason you remember it? Not because it's a game that came with this actual spaceship?
Yeah.
It's a fun game. Like, Starlink's not bad. Like, there's a reason that they're flooding Five Belows currently, but it's a cool little shooter thing, and one of the little weird ones. Mario Tennis, much like all other Mario sports games, unfortunately, are half-baked and not as good as you want them to be. Shout out to Funky Mode. Just going to say that for Donkey Kong. If you know about Funky Mode, you know about Funky Mode. 2019, the Switch strikes back, only with like a little bit of more work. So by this time, Nintendo had finally killed the 3DS. Understandably, like it had been its time.
Nintendo killed it, but Atlas tried to keep it alive.
Literally, their last game was this year. How did they keep it alive? Oh, sorry, it was 2019. Their last game was 2019.
Yeah, Persona Q2.
Well, still. Also, I would not consider that keeping it alive. Let's throw this game out in June and not advertise it. But I know what you mean. Like, so they'd stopped 3DS support. Wii U was super deadzo by at that point. So all their dev teams working on it, they've had a lot more time to invest in titles and bigger stuff. And one of the reasons you can really show it this is we finally, at this point, have a mainline Pokemon game, which is funny to think how long it took. Also, man, Sword and Shield, that reveal feels like 5,000 years ago, especially because now we're on the verge of Scarlet and Violet and stuff for it. But the Switch Lite also released. Tons of colors. Only real difference is moderately better handheld battery, smaller screen, and obviously you can't dock it and stuff for it. But pretty quiet year outside of adding Super Nintendo. Not a lot of real news, but the releases were like the kind of fun part about 2019. 2019 just had a lot of weird releases. We had No More Heroes. Luigi's Mansion 3 came out of nowhere. Legend of Zelda, while definitely a pretty game, probably didn't need to be charged $60 for a remake of a Game Boy Color game, or just Game Boy game in general. Tetris 99. Fire Emblem finally came back. How many people are Fire Emblem fans in here? Fake fan over here. As I mentioned, Fire Emblem Warriors was my first. I just, 2 months ago, got Three Houses for the first time, and I feel like I'm like, wow, I'm real late to the party, but this is a dang good game. Mario Maker 2, probably actually one of the weaker releases that year. That was another one of famously short support. Like, they added Mario 2 elements and then just said, goodbye, everybody, you weren't buying this game anyway, so kind of just gave up on it. Yoshi's Crafted World, another kind of forgotten game, but a fun Kirby nonetheless. Mario Wii U Deluxe, I want to include. It's really just a Wii U port, but I think a lot of people sleep on that game because it is a 2D Mario game. Mario Wii U was a really good one, and it comes with Luigi. Also, it started the whole Toadette thing with Peachette, the Peach Crown thing. Yeah, led to lots of fun. Yeah, Bowsette. There we go. Yeah, led to lots of inspired fan art. So you got to give it a shout out for that. Astral Chain is another awesome one for all the people out there who were waiting for Bayonetta 3, as we still are. Fun platinum surprise there. Ultimate Marvel Alliance 3, I think, is also one of those weird ones that people don't talk about it very much. So, like, who here has played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3? It's a weird one of, like, I don't think the Switch was the audience for that game, but man, it's a fun game. Like, it's got listen, guys, it's got Morbius. Do I need to say it's a game with Morbius in it?
Time.
What would you do if, like, sales for that game spiked because Morbius is it? Like, there's no, like, he's not in any other Marvel game right now. So it'd be so funny if, like, that's like, no, dude, we gotta spike up the Morb sales. Yes.
And what is Ring Fit Adventure?
It's a game that'll kick your ass.
Ring Fit Adventure, I want you all to know, it was like the last thing I added to this slide. I forgot it came out in 2019, because it was basically no one bought it at launch. It was fun, but it was like, okay, it's a cool exercise game, but really, who's going to stay at home this long and could use it? And then quarantine came knocking, and basically Nintendo went from this thing being a couple 100,000 unit seller, because it's an expensive peripheral. If you've not used Ring Fit, I got it like a week or so ago. It's really good. It's like a really fun game. Also, I feel like Nintendo doesn't advertise. It's an exercise game. It's also an RPG. It's just full on a RPG about exercising, and I really cannot recommend it enough. Yeah, it's actually in the Breath of the Wild engine, which is probably way more juice than that game ever needed or anything for it. But a really great year. Probably not for sales, but just doing a lot of cool stuff. Any 2019 games anyone wants to shout out that I may or may not be forgetting? That is okay. We've been talking, and this is the fastest hour ever. Hey, did you hear about that quarantine thing that happened in 2020? So if you didn't have a Switch by this point, you really probably were kicking your butt now. So for various reasons, people were stuck at home around the world. Sales for the Switch ballooned even more than they had previously.
Sales for everything ballooned.
Oh yeah, people were like, "Fuck it, I'll take an Xbox One. I'll take anything at this point."
Also, like old video games, they shot up in price too.
Yeah, so everything video games wise was booming, but Switch was especially more because people were waiting with PS5. Obviously, if you knew the PS5 and Xbox Series were coming that fall, you probably weren't going to get a PS4, much like you would now. But it was that thing of like, even though we knew there were like Switch Pro rumors or whatever, it had that evergreen thing of like, no, people wanted it. You want to play Pokemon, you want to play whatever. So the Switch out of all of them. Oh yeah, well, as we'll see with it, Animal Crossing kind of was a weird one. Animal Crossing was so big it kind of saved them this year, because people remember Animal Crossing for 2020. Who remembers any other big exclusives in 2020 for Nintendo Switch? Like, they had some. I'll show them in the next slide, but it's like people think of that's the Animal Crossing year, because it sold in 1 year over 31 million copies, which has never been done for any series. Mario Kart never did that. It's not sold as many copies as Mario Kart has on it, but it just was one of those crazy things of like right place, right time. Yeah.
Animal Crossing almost tenfold. Animal Crossing was the new.
Oh yeah, entire series. Yeah, so it was just such a weird one. Also, another odd one of like, for as much of a self-imposed Nintendo fan I call myself, I love Animal Crossing. The last one I've played was Happy Home Designer and Amiibo Festival. I've still not played New Horizon, just because like I was like, I love Animal Crossing, but I know what I'm gonna get, and it'll be just as fun when I pick it up now. And like, I just have such a huge backlog. Like, Animal Crossing is I've got one game to play, or 3 games to play. But like when I was like, since I jump around a lot, it's not one I did a lot with. You've played Animal Crossing though.
I've played like 2 hours of it.
That's more embarrassing than me not buying it.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm probably gonna sound like a stereotypical dude bro COD player, but I think Animal Crossing is boring.
It is.
It's okay. It's supposed to be. It's a relaxing experience of just like sitting there listening to the not creepy music of 3 a.m. and just thinking to yourself, God, I'm in so much debt right now, but it feels so nice.
I know someone who who had like 200 hours logged into that game within.
Oh,
like,
dude,
the
that's
first
like nothing.
month.
200 hours. Yeah.
No, within the first month.
That honestly, I would say that's nothing. Yeah.
The 3 a.m. music, to its credit, sounds exactly like what it feels like to be awake.
They nailed the tone. Yeah.
And then speaking of debt, literally the Animal Crossing Switch, if you destroyed it like on a video, people would send death threats to you because of how rare.
Oh my God, yeah.
They were going for like thousands of dollars on eBay, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter.
It's funny, like honestly, people don't talk about it enough, but that Animal Crossing Switch, that's the only time Nintendo has ever reproduced a special edition system.
Well, okay, I mean, is it the actual Switch itself, or is it just
It's
the
the
dock
Switch.
and
It's the whole thing. The
Joy-Cons?
dock, the controllers, and
What
the
is-
system.
What does the Switch have on it that makes it limited edition?
The design. It's all themed around Animal
No,
Crossing.
okay, but I'm talking about like the Switch itself, not the dock, not the Joy-Cons, just the black thing with the
Yeah,
screen.
this middle section is still themed too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Humble brag over here. Yeah, you right there.
It's like has a bunch of designs on the back of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The first Animal Crossing game I played was the one on the phone, Pocket Camp.
Oh yeah, Pocket Camp was great.
So I got new Horizons, and honestly, I was astonished seeing like the amount of people willing to trade Animal Crossing characters and willing to pay people to have like a specific villager on their own. I think that system is like really fascinating.
I don't think it can be understated enough because honestly, following Animal Crossing was almost more as fun as playing it for me. Of like following people just retweeting or talking about turnip prices, multiplayer, trading patterns. Like, dude, I've made like every flag known to man, even the ones we probably shouldn't make. They're all on an island somewhere. Like people. Oh yeah, like so all the different, and also the updates they did. Like they did such a great job, and they still do a really good job of like that game is just like super fun, and I'm really glad how well that turned out. That was actually another one that was supposed to be 2019 but got delayed, and that was a fun one of like, man, because that was a March 2020 game. Like what a perfect example of right place, right time. So here's our 2020 games that, as Jump Rope Challenge can probably tell you, not a great year for exclusives. Sorry, what? So by the way, boo on all of you for not remembering Age of Calamity, the real GOAT of 2020. Yes. Yep. Nintendo, this was actually back in the day of Nintendo in 2019 had a Nintendo Direct, and then they went almost 2 years without a Nintendo Direct. They were like, you know what, just put it on Twitter. These nerds don't care. They're going to buy it anyway. So we had a lot of games like Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Origami King, where they would just be, oh, by the way, nothing was more fun to me. Cover your ears, much more popular YouTube person next to me. Than like people being like on Twitter, be like, oh my God, Nintendo screwed me. They announced a game without warning me, and I can't make a YouTube live reaction to it. This is the worst day of my life. And I'm like, listen, if you're a Nintendo YouTuber and that's your real job, congratulations. But complaining that Paper Mario is back and you couldn't react to it in time has to be one of the most first world problems of all time. Yeah.
I mean, I'm ashamed of myself for not bringing this up, but I don't know if it was as big a deal for anybody else, but it's a remake of Red Rescue Team.
Yes. Yeah.
I almost didn't include that. I was like, do people like Mystery Dungeon enough for it? Like, I love Spike Chunsoft. So, okay, I'm glad that's another one of like, I wasn't sure how many people would like really remember that. Like, that was a cool one of like, that's a low budget game, but like Mystery Dungeon on GBA, and I guess Blue was DS, right? because red was GBA, blue was DS.
Yeah, but they were pretty much the same game.
Yeah, like it was just like those are like such a fun kind of like surprise to come out, and I think like that's one of like that's not a Pokemon game, like that's gonna be like a Pokemon Snap where like for the fans who really remember that series, that's gonna mean a lot to them. Yeah.
Not to mention the other ones, and I'm not sure if they're going to come out with that one yet, but is it Sky and Time?
Darkness and Time. And Sky was the
It would.
That was a sequel.
It would be tough to honestly because of how low it sold. Like it did fine. Like and it was like they just ripped a bunch of 3DS assets. Like it didn't. It was a pretty cheap job. Like I would like to see them bring the other games because like yeah, there's a bunch of other really good like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games on there. But that. Okay, Rangers, you're never like who's like oh dude, I need Pokemon Rangers to come back. Yes.
Pokemon Rangers, what about Pokemon Conquest?
Oh, you, sir, if you've not had Mountain Dew, you've earned a sip of Mountain Dew up here. Pokemon Conquest is one of the best, most underplayed Pokemon games of all time. It's literally just... It's a strategy RPG made by Koei Tecmo with Pokemon and literal historical figures like Nobunaga, and it's one of the best, most insane games of all time. It was like a super late DS game. So, oh, by the way... shout out to the game people bought a lot of and not a lot of people talk about, Mario 3D All-Stars. We all bought it, but yeah, it's not one you really talk about a lot. And Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore. If anyone in here bought that, I'm personally going to thank you all. But yes, you in the back.
On Super Mario 3D, isn't that game dead now?
It's illegal to buy. I've heard if you go to Target, they have 1 million copies still, but if you go to the cashier, it's a test. They will publicly execute you. They've warned you. They said, Miyamoto-san said, excuse me, if you buy my game after March of 2021, I am legally allowed to murder you on the spot. Yes.
Don't forget how about they also coincidentally ignored Galaxy 2 for that.
That was a weird one, but yeah, it just sucks because Galaxy 2 is such an amazing game. Like, it's a good pairing with it. Also, I didn't include this. Shout out to Fire Emblem getting another really rushed release. They released the NES version of Fire Emblem 1 digitally only, but that was like a fun one of like, hey, it was cool they included it. But yeah, 2020, weird year. Oh, background, I forgot. Xenoblade got a remake, definitive edition. Play it. It's amazing. It's really good. The music's 10 out of 10. Yes.
Remember how Cooking Mama Cookstar got released?
Yeah, baby. Well, got released, then removed. Then people said maybe it was cooking NFTs or using the Switch for the blockchain. And then people were like, is this game starting a meth lab? Am I Breaking Bad by buying this game? What's happening? Yes. Oh yeah, like they're flooding it, but the best part is like because it has like a super like quick. It almost like people thought this is going to be like the rarest game of all time.
Apparently, the thing is, I believe that the license for it ran
Yeah.
out. It just had it was illegal
Yeah.
substance. The license was completely they ran out. Basically.
It's such a weird thing. Yeah.
Hades released to the Switch in 2012.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Hades was a good one. Hades was one though of like Hades is like one of like I'm gonna play that on a console. I like. Yeah, I'm sure most people played it on Switch for it, but yeah.
My other thing that you do up here, Pikmin 3, everyone please go buy it so they make Pikmin 3.
Pikmin 3, hey, well, according to Miyamoto, Pikmin 4 has been done. He's just waiting on it. Miyamoto said in 2015, Pikmin 4 was done and he's just waiting. And I liked... Almost. He's been putting the finishing touches on it himself for like 20 years. So we're going to rush through this because we don't want to... I know we have like a half an hour wiggle room, but I want to either have any time for whatever is left for it, and we're almost done. So 2021 is a weird one because we just had it, and I had to think of like, what do I call this year? And like, it's kind of a weird... I think people are going to forget the games that came out this year because it didn't have a big whoa game. Like... Outside of Metroid, which I put here, what are some big Switch games you all remember from 2021? Yes. Boom. That's a good one. Yes. Pokemon is a good one. That's for sure. I don't know why Diamond and Pearl had to get the Chibi-Fi treatment, but hey, they got it. Yes. Oh,
Save
sure.
money.
Skyward Sword, yes, you in the back. Yep. Hey, there we go. Yeah, that's like the nerd answer. Yes. That was February. That was, by the way, everyone play Bowser's Fury, please. Yes. 2021, that is correct. Yep.
Did the new Pokemon Snap come out?
Very correct as well. Yes.
Neo, the World Ends With You?
What a nerd answer. That is correct. Yes. Yeah, that is also right. So
Doom Eternal.
Oh yeah, that was like I forgot that one almost didn't happen for us. So a weird quiet year, sold a lot of stuff, but not like big. A lot of the big games were mostly talked about, none were really super releasing. The OLED launched that year, but kind of like the two people in the room, it's not like something that like replaced all other Switches. It's kind of like that, hey, I buy the iPhone XS or I buy like the Pro model. It didn't replace it. It was just kind of like, hey, here's the more expensive, a little bougier option. And another cool thing, like we mentioned before, Metroid Dread became the best-selling Metroid, which was a low bar to reach by Nintendo standards, but nice that Metroid came back. And also for all the Uber nerds out there who remembered Metroid Dread, I guess another trivia question: who remembers what system Metroid Dread was originally announced for? Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was going to be the first DS game amidst all their GBA stuff there at the time. It was still going to be sprite based. They showed it at an E3 and talked about it, but never publicly showed it. So it always made it seem like a weird like what if game. And if anyone here has played or has not played Metroid Dread, it's got a demo. I can't recommend it enough. Even I know it's Metroid 5. You can jump in and play it. It doesn't matter. Like the lore of Metroid's there, but it's not going to gatekeep you or anything out of it. But here are our games. A weird collection. We have Monster Hunter, an amazing exclusive Monster Hunter with Rise, and also shoutouts to, if you like RPGs, Story 2. Technically doesn't look that great, but it's a really fun RPG. Pokemon got a remake. I'll leave it at that. Zelda HD. For all the, I don't know if are people in here Skyward Sword haters or lovers?
Lovers.
Okay, if you've not played it, it is a game that it's cool. It is. They've added controls. Motion control is the way to play. Like, I'm assuming you played Skyward Sword, right?
Well, I played like a demo of it in GameStop.
No, dude, that game's
through.
got it's like Final Fantasy 13. It's got a 30-hour demo tutorial phase. It's an obnoxiously long game, but it's really good. Great story. Like the motion, like it's one of the weirdest Zeldas for so many reasons, and I think because it was a late Wii U release. I'm glad this came out because I think a lot more people got a chance to experience
Speaking
it.
of Zelda, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Link's Awakening remake.
We did.
We did?
Yeah, 2019. I said it was too expensive, but it was pretty. That's most of what you can say about Link's Awakening is like it's Link's Awakening. I love Link's Awakening. We mentioned Mario Party got a bunch of old remakes. Again, cool. This should be a thing we have DLC for. This should be. We shouldn't need to wait 3 years for some Mario Party updates. Like, Mario Party could just be like Fall Guys, where they have seasons, Battles Pass, updates, stuff like that. 3D World came out, another one like another Wii U classic a lot of people slept on. 3D World's really, really good, but Bowser's Fury is insane. It's got Butt Rock, Bowser Jr. and Mario working together. It's really, really fun. Yeah.
I guess one game in 2021, I'm a huge anime fan, as you can tell. Danganronpa's Summer, the summer game, it's a Nintendo Switch exclusive.
Man, I thought Neo, the World's End With You was going to be the dorkiest answer. Yeah, we got it. Excuse me, have you seen my PSP port of Danganronpa? Now, I love Danganronpa. I appreciate you including that of like, I love that it came to Switch.
And it's only on Switch.
Well, it's also on PSP, Vita, PS4, PC. The asset flip with them all in bikinis is only on Switch. That is exclusive still currently.
Is that? I thought that was like a board game thing.
It's a board game gotcha RPG mix, and there's a reason mostly only Danganronpa fans talk about it. I like the idea of it, but I'm a sucker of like, I would have liked it if the voice actors came back and worked on it, because I know they all wanted to, but Spike Chunsoft was like, ooh, sounds like we need to spend money on that, so let's just throw some art out there.
Imagine doing anything with Danganronpa besides a re-release.
I'm strictly in the camp of I'm glad Danganronpa stopped after V3. It knows where to end. Yes.
To add on, this is kind of like other like anime games. I think it was 2017 when they came out with the Witcher Club, but during 2021
Yeah, like honestly, I joked about it a little bit before, but I really got into visual novels through the Vita myself. And honestly, I wish I could just do this for 2 hours and we just talk about other games and stuff, because like there are so many other games that I can mention. Doki Doki Literature Club, Undertale, so many great games that are on the Switch that like I wish I could like talk. There's just so much really on there for it, and it is nice that like it does have these releases that like kind of make it the definitive edition for everything. And I don't know why I'm saving this one for last, because it just sounds mean. Also, WarioWare released. That's another one of like, no one has anything bad to say about this game, but I feel like if I told you I made that game up, some of you might believe me. You're like, yeah, probably Wario came out. Like, it's fun. But, yeah, and also to everyone out there who played SMT5, congrats, you played the best Switch exclusive of 2021. At least, unless you're like here, I should have mentioned this. I'm actually a Suda fan. Who here played No More Heroes 3 last year? Okay. How do you all feel about it finally getting a proper release this year on consoles that can run it?
Do they have motion controls, though?
No, even No More Heroes 3 didn't have. The motion controls was this. That wasn't like, damn, Suda, you really Skyward Sword this year, so yeah, a lot of great games, a bit of a weirder one, but 2022 for me, and I'm saying this as we're 5 months into the year, this is like my 2017 part 2 of like, there are so many games coming out, have already come out, has been
so many that are getting delayed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Advance Wars and Breath of the Wild? What else? What's been delayed besides Breath of the Wild and Advance Wars?
What else is there?
Okay, we'll get to it the next one. 2020. All right, here, we'll get to it, but there's got 2 different mainline Pokemon games in the same year. That's the definition of big mushroom energy. Throwing your everything on the table.
Okay,
like,
I mean, okay, we know Scarlet and Violet are supposed to come out this year, but do we have an actual date?
They're going to have a Pokemon Direct in like 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll announce it. There's no way it gets delayed. Pokemon is like I'm sure like some AI just makes them all at this point. Like that's how it basically works. But we're barely into the year, and we've already had a whole bunch. Like we've had Legends, we've had Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Again, I mentioned feels like 9 years ago. If you've not played the new Kirby, it's like one of the best platformers on the Switch. It is fantastic. It's got a demo. It's really, really good. But we've got so many other games like still coming and still like stuff to look forward to. I don't know why it had to be a big bummer and include the war on Ukraine as the reason Advance Wars got delayed. But
Dude, that game's gonna come out like next year.
I don't, because that's a weird one. So if you don't know, Advance Wars 1 and 2 has been remade by Way Forward. It's done. It's been done since actually December last year. And it's just kind of in a weird, hey, war's happening, and that'd be a real bummer to release a game about war, understandably. Yes?
What's your opinion on, not Pokemon Legends Arceus, but the protagonist designs in Scarlet and Violet? What's your
Oh, I honestly, Legends got me into Pokemon in a way that I probably hadn't felt in maybe 15 years. Like, it was such a shot in the arm for me of like, even though I knew it had a lot of issues and stuff with it, I thought Legends was great. I don't know how much time you've put into Legends yet.
I haven't put that much, but I do want to play it.
How do you feel about the schoolgirl and schoolboy design for Violet?
I mean, I don't know.
I see the hate. Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's somebody in the back saying. Clearly, it's very minimal. You're going to have customization options. If you've played Legends, there's a ton of customization stuff for it. Yes.
It also like takes it, since Scarlet and Violet also like takes inspiration in Spain. The outfits are actually based off of like Catholic schools.
Yes.
Or like children. So I found that like very interesting. I heard a lot of people were like, "Yo, those outfits, they kind of gross over them."
It's a different thing. Yeah, I would say we still know really very little about Scarlet and Violet, but I think as long as they don't drop it, with the lessons they've learned from Legends, it could be really, really something special.
Also, Weed Cat.
It's true. Weed Cat is in the game. So we're super late already, so we're going to burn through these, but I'd like, out of curiosity, who here has played these games? Who here has picked up or at least has played Pokemon Legends? Who here has played Wii Sports? Switch Sports. Everyone out there, I know it just seems like Wii Sports. It's really fun. It's very, very good. Who here is excited for the new Mario Strikers coming back? Honestly, more than I thought for an anime convention. Live Alive, who was aware of that even existing? That's okay. It was a Japanese Famicom game. Just pick it up and it's okay. Just don't make that game bomb, please. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. No joke, that's the reason I bought 3 Houses, because I was like, I love Warrior games. I better know the context for this. Splatoon 3, it's going to be awesome. Splatoon 3 is going to be crazy. Please, everyone in here, be honest with me. You can rip my heart out. Who's going to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in July? Thank you all. I don't know why this guy did this. That hurt me. You could have just said nothing. This doesn't help me make me feel any better. And then Mario Rabbids 2, just doing their best thing in their life. I don't think there's anything too crazy Switch exclusive I forgot. I'm sure there will still be more stuff that gets announced for later this year. What's going to be your most anticipated game so far? Person who said there's nothing coming out this year on Switch.
On Switch? I don't know. Honestly, there's not really anything I can think of. I was kind of interested in Advance Wars, but I don't know when that's going to come out.
His answer was Metroid Prime 4. That's what he meant to say.
No, that's coming out in like 2030. That's okay. I'm being 100% serious. I don't think that's going to come out on the Switch. I think that's going to come out on whatever they do next.
Co-host down there, what do you think? I think Metroid Prime 1 should be remade and come out this fall for $60. That's a great idea, co-host number 3. All right, everybody, we took way too much of your time. Thank you all for sitting through this for an hour and 12 minutes. If you would like to try, I have 2 unopened cans of Flaming Hot Mountain Dew. For the love of God, take this off my hands, please.